Thank you so much, Dr. Datta, my dearest friend, the executive chair of the CBER. And we have been down the road for almost 15, 16 years now, from where we started in 2010. And it's a long way. And we have brought it to this stage primarily due to your yeoman's effort. And we are very proud of whatever you have achieved and the CBER. Uh, uh, my good evening or good morning, wherever you are. We have a global audience to all those who are in the session. This is a little unusual. In fact, I'm here primarily in the capacity of chairing a session which is related to civil aviation. And my credential is primarily where I started my career many decades back as a aviation correspondent with a mainstream newspaper. That's for about 3 years. Till the time the last year I came to Delhi Flying Club, which is the oldest, second oldest, the flying school of the world, Asia's oldest flying school, as a director and its secretary. So that's something that I do, among other things that I am engaged with in Spain, UK, elsewhere. This is I really take this as an opportunity to touch upon this title, which is Propelling Progress, and how the civil aviation navigates globalization's entrepreneurship and the skies of the emerging economies. And we have some very, very extremely distinguished panelists who are primarily aviators. And, and then you would have some expert opinions at the same time who have been studying or writing about aviation. But the abstract is that it's about civil aviation, which is the engine of the globalization, which is linking the markets and enabling the entrepreneurial ventures across the border. So we primarily now what we do is in the next 1 hour, we'll have a panel discussions featuring very eminent aviators, both civil and commercial aviators, and they will dissect these challenges and the opportunities the sector is facing, particularly in the emerging economies. So we'll explore that how these deregulations and evolving infrastructure demands in emerging economies are fueling these new airline models, where entrepreneurship is a big challenge, and how the global supply chains impact the fleet management, and the crucial role of these digital transformations in maintaining profitability, safety, and globally competitive edge. So let's get into, let me take this opportunity to introduce the distinguished panel members. I hope that we have all of them here. Let me welcome Captain Sudarshan Pandey. Hope you are there. If you really can give me a shout. Captain Sudarshan Pandey.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So we have Captain Sudarshan Pandey. Thank you. So he's an aviator, and we have Mr. Martin Jurik, who is the Chief Executive Officer and the Managing Director of the Czech Sports Aircraft. And he is based in the Kunovice in Czech Republic. Do you have Mr. Martin Jurik, please? I saw him.
I think
I saw him.
He's on call. I saw, so yeah.
Yeah, he's there. So let's welcome Martin Jurik. I'm sure that he's joining us. And we have also Group Captain Sarat Subhash Sharma, and he is there. I see Group Captain Sarat Subhash Sharma.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
Thank you. And then we have our eminent, with about 5 decades of aviation experience, Captain PJB Khorana. Can I see you? No. He would join with just about a little bit of time. There's a little bit of personal loss with him, some issues that he's dealing with, but he'll take his own time to join. We have Dr. Sheikh Akbar Basha from London. Dr. Basha?
Yeah, hi there. I'm there.
Yeah. And then I have Captain Birendra Yadav. I don't know because he divides time between Spain, Australia, and India. Captain Yadav. I see Captain Yadav. Captain Birendra Yadav. I'm sure that he is logging in. I saw him. And then I have Captain Sanjay Kumar.
Yes, Captain Birendra Yadav, I'm here.
Yeah, sure, good. So that's welcome to Captain Yadav. And we have Captain Sanjay Kumar. Okay. And then we have Roohi Bali. She divides time between London and Singapore. Roohi was actually taking a flight. She said that because of the massive disruption in the flight, it is the first time of its history.
No, she's on call. I can see she's there.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello,
Roohi,
everyone. Sorry, I just landed and I'm just
in
doing my
Singapore?
immigration. Thanks to
Yeah.
Indigo. So
Thanks to, we have a lot to talk about Indigo. So please hold on.
I was
Yeah.
at the airport for 7 hours. So
I know. We do have a lot. We will give you a lot of space to talk about Indigo. So
Okay.
it's better you come out of that aircraft. Otherwise, they will hold you back because
Okay,
we have a lot to talk about Indigo. So they should not take you as a captive. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, right, lovely. So what we do is, let me set the tone and then I'll invite other people who are real experts. You want to hear them more than me. But the guiding theme, the way that we connect it to our central theme of the conference is that we have identified 3 pillars: the globalizations, where the aviation is the backbone of the global commerce and mobility. We'll talk about entrepreneurship, the rise of the low-cost carriers. We call it LCCs, and the specialized cargo operators. And the third part, where we talk about the emerging economies in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, where we primarily talk about infrastructure development, regulatory harmonizations, and the market growth potentials. So, so this is how we let me just about read out a little profile so that you know this gentleman and of course Roohi a little more closely. We have Martin Jurik. Mr. Martin Jurik, I still can see you. But probably he's taking his own time to come back to us. So Martin Jurik is the CEO and the managing director of the Czech Sports Aircraft, and a Czech light aircraft manufacturer which is based in the Kunovice. So under his leadership, the CSA delivered over its 500th aircraft. So it's a milestone marking the company's growth in the global general aviation markets. So Jurik has overseen the production and the export of the company's flagship 2-seat light sport planes, the sports cruisers, and the PS-28 cruisers. He has to talk a lot about this. I'm sure that also Captain Sudarshan is very familiar with these aircrafts. This is designed for the pilot training and the recreational flying. So he played a key role in expanding the CSS presence in the US market. Under his direction, the company opened a sales and service center in Florida to support its growing American customer base. So Jurik has guided the CSA through production milestones, so including its 600th aircraft delivered, helped the firm establish itself among the leading global light aircraft manufacturers. Keep an eye on this company. I tell you, this has a lot to deliver for the world. And he steered the strategic directions on export and after-sale support to strengthen the company's international footprint. So welcome, Mr. Martin Jurik. I see you there. I move to the next profile. Of course, I welcome Captain Sudarshan Pandey, my dearest friend. Captain Sudarshan Pandey actually owns a company, aviation company, IFOR, together with his 2 other partners, Kenneth, and he's a 3rd generation aviator. His grandfather flew with the JRD Tata. His children are also aviators, very unusual. Yesterday, I was watching a BBC old archive where I had 6 generations from one family in the BBC studio. I'm seeing that Captain Sudarshan with his 4th generation of aviators. So he himself is the 3rd generation aviators with a commercial pilot license and an MBA from IFT, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, He's a prominent figure in the aviation, training and service sector. He serves as the chairman and executive director of the Brains Aviation Services, a company focused on providing guidance, professional training programs, including the CPL, which is the commercial pilot license, and APTL courses, and consultancy for the aviation industry. So Captain Pandey is also the managing partner, one of the managing partners of IOFA, the dedicated arm of the Switzerland-based of the the International Flight Operations Academy. So in his capacity, Captain Pandey plays a role in bridging the skill gap in India's expanding aviation sector, notably by leading specialized training programs in the flight operations and the flight dispatch that align with the international standards. He's also associated with the IFOA Aviators and Excellence Foundations. I move to the next profile of another dear friend of mine, Group Captain Sarat Subhash Sharma, with decades of experience in aviation. So he was commissioned by the Indian Air Force in the month of December 1988. He doesn't look of his age, so I'm sure that you see him. But someone who has an aviation experience of more than 3 decades. He rose through the ranks to become the group captain in the year 2010. Among his postings, he served as the commanding officer of the 1st Tactical Air Center in Jalandhar, India, and after a deputy military secretary at the President's Secretariat in New Delhi. So he also also was in the directing staff at the College of the Air Warfare, Secunderabad. He came out of the Indian Air Force on 31st May 2020. So welcome, Group Captain Sarat Subhash Sharma. And we have Captain PJB Khorana, and he is, I'm sure that he is joining in just about a little time. So I probably have got a message because we exchanged definitely is coming into this panel discussions. He is a very distinguished aviation professional with about 5 decades of experience. So he has a very lifelong commitment to Indian civil and military aviations. A veteran aviator, he began his flight training in 1965 at the Delhi Flying Club, which is where I also serve as his colleague director. And this is the world's oldest aviation institution, founded in 1901. Under mentorship of some of these India's finest instructor, he developed the foundations of aviation's career that later spanned leadership, training, advocacy rules. After completing his military service with the Indian Air Force, Captain Khorana remained deeply involved in the aviation community, contributing his experience to pilot training, safety initiatives, organizational development. Widely respected for his integrity, discipline, mentorship, Captain Khorana continues to contribute to aviation sector through leadership, advisory role, and support for young pilots. And I have another dear friend, Dr. Shaik Akbar Basha, who actually is an educationalist and economist. He's based in London, and he's a global businessman, also a aviation enthusiast. He flies as a commercial pilot license. His career spans education sector, stock exchange, real estate, aviations, and he's currently the director of the London College of Business, Barking, London, where he provides strategic leadership in the higher education management in international partnership and academic quality assurance. So his journey primarily began in the trading floor of the stock exchange, giving him a very robust foundations in the market dynamics and economic principles. And his expertise is further solidified by his academic credential as an economist. And adding to his remarkable dimension to the profile, he is actually a licensed aviator, which he leveraged to set up a franchise school of Delhi Flying Club in his hometown in India, which is Chennai. So, author, thought leader, Dr. Basha contributes to public discourse on economics, business education, leadership. His multifaceted expertise, melding the analytical rigor from finance, strategic vision from economics, exotic standard from aviations, positions him as a very distinctive leader committed to steering his college towards global excellence, innovations, and business education. We have another aviator with us, one of the most kind-hearted man I have probably ever met in my life, Captain Birendra Yadav, who divides his time between Spain and India. He is a distinguished leader in education, civil aviation, where career elegantly bridges the skies, and the classroom. A certified commercial aviator with extensive flying experience, he brings the discipline, precision, and structured protocols of the cockpit into the realm of education. As a founder principal of one of these most well-known group of schools called Mount Olivet, he has translated his high altitude expertise to a vision for ground level excellence. Under his leadership, the school is recognized for its holistic approach, fostering not only the academic rigor, but also strong character innovations and global citizenship among students. His public presence is quite inspiring for his leadership and institution building. And his unique synthesis of aviation meticulous standards with pedagogical insight positions him as a transformative teacher in education, steering his school with a clear vision and a steady hand towards nurturing future-ready individuals. So we have Captain Sanjay Kumar, who probably may not join here, another aviator, but we still hope that he comes and joins us. He runs an aviation company, which is SRK Aviacom. So let us see that, if still Captain Sanjay Kumar can make it to this panel discussions. Then we have Roohi Valley just landed in Singapore. Hopes he has come out of the aircraft, Roohi. And she is an UK-based entrepreneur, but now largely working in Singapore, distinguished by her commitment to integrating cutting-edge technology with a very purpose-driven business missions. She is best known for the co-founder of the two distinct ventures, the SCORR Limited and artificial intelligence AI startup, EcoChoiceHub. And she advocates passionately for sustainability, and I'm sure that she is talking about sustainability in the sky, articulating a clear philosophy on the need for conscious and mission-led enterprise. Her entrepreneurial scope is further reflected in her publicly listed companies in the UK government, demonstrating active involvement in sectors spanning technology, risk management, aviation, including the Aviacom Limited, and also she owns a cyber risk company. So I take this opportunity to welcome Roohi Bali into the panel discussions. So this panel discussion, the first part, we would start talking about the entrepreneurial shift and the market entry. And this is something I'm sure that would be a great interest to Captain Sudarshan Pandey, that how, my question would be that how he looks at the new business model that are disrupting the traditional airline operations, particularly in the emerging economies. And as you know, this is a very high growth, underdeveloped markets. Captain Sudarshan Pandey. Yeah.
Yeah, greetings everyone. I know everybody is from a different time zone, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. And we are, as being an aviator, we are more focused on training at the moment, and through different companies that we are operating with, we are doing different types of training. And one of the main trainings that we're doing through IFA is the dispatcher, the operations training and all. And as the aviation is growing in India, there are a lot of skill gaps also that needs to be fulfilled, and we are trying to bring in those formats of training with the global standards over here. And aviation is not just about, building airports and buying new aircraft. It's also about the manpower that goes with the industry. And unless you have the right manpower, the right setup, it's very difficult to manage the airline and run the airline. And exactly what you're seeing today, it's a live example of what Indigo is facing, because they never seriously went into the manpower part. They just kept on getting the aircraft and, getting other assets. But having the manpower ready was more important at the same time. And now with the restrictions that came on, they faced a huge problem because the whole flight schedule went off. And they didn't expect this to happen in such a big way, and it's kind of a roller coaster now. I mean, they're facing a huge problem. The country is facing a huge problem because somebody who has a market share of almost 60%, dominating the entire airspace industry, suddenly in a mess like this is causing a huge problem for all the passengers and everybody. Many have missed their exams, many have missed their meetings, and some of the airfares are skyrocketing for other airlines.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a very, very big mess that's happened in the industry. It should not have happened. Could have easily been dealt with because they almost had 2 years to plan this. And Air India and other airlines fortunately did some planning and they had some backups. But Indigo somehow, I think the management overlooked everything and they just concentrated on what they were doing. That's all. So this is one of the downfalls of this. So here we are trying to fill the space, and our entry into the aviation sector, besides my flying and besides flight training, is more for the other parts of the areas of aviation, which is ground training and operations, because operations is one of the most neglected areas, and people never realize that the flight dispatcher or person working in the operation is equally important as a pilot. And so, I mean, there are a lot of scope for us to work in this field. And the next big area that is coming up with the demand of the pilots and all that is the flight training sector. So again, there is a lot of scope in that, provided you have the right, again, infrastructure in your hand, the right kind of planning and a strategy to set up the business. And obviously, then there is a good market for you for the training part of it, because there is a lot of demand of pilots. At the moment, we're not able to fulfill that demand. We are only about to produce maybe 1,000 pilots, less than 1,000 pilots a year, where probably the demand is almost about 2,000 to 2,500 pilots. So we're really short of pilots. So, I mean, there is a lot of scope as far as the industry is concerned for anybody to come in this. Anything else?
Yeah, thank you very much. And so that's good. And primarily, since we try to be within the discussions, which is primarily to talk about the progress in the civil aviations, particularly the way we look at the low-cost career model in these emerging economies. And this model actually adapt its strategies. Primarily, the growth is going to come from the low-cost career. If you are talking about some the number of the airlines that we have in these emerging economies in Latin America and the US, Latin America and Asia and Africa, I somehow see that the growth is going to come from. And in a way, I was trying to look at the schedule and the non-schedule operators. There were 5,000 plus operators globally, but the numbers do really vary. But what I see, there is a large presence of the low-cost carriers till today. Financially, I don't know how do you sustain this. So hence, there is a lot of focus how these low-cost carriers, LCC model, adopt its strategies. When you talk about network, aircraft size, maintenance, when entering into these formative or the nascent markets in emerging economies versus the established Western markets in Europe and North America. So if you can answer that.
Yeah, we have some low-cost carriers that are operating in the market, not as big as the other markets that you're talking about, which is a very, very niche and new market over here. And we do have some players in the market, like the Fly 91 is operating out of Goa. They are now operating with about 4 aircrafts. They should have had about 7 aircrafts by now, but unfortunately, they were not able to get the aircrafts. Maybe by mid of next year, they'll probably get the aircrafts. Then we have other people also in operating different sectors. Again, the aircraft issues are there. We do have the airports that have been developed by the government to operate these small regional flights, but still a lot of work needs to be done in terms of setting up the tower and communications and all that, because most of the airports are still VFR airports. So that also becomes a problem, visual flight rules. I mean, you cannot fly instrument or fly in the night. So still a lot of work to be done, but there is a lot of scope for these regional airlines to come in, and there are some new ones are also coming in. As far as the business aviation is concerned, I think a lot of people in the business aviation and non-scheduled operations are really sort of, in the business now, where a couple of years back, we only had about 400 aircrafts or less than 400 aircrafts. And today we have more than 700 aircraft registered in India for the business aviation.
Yeah,
And that's a lot of aircrafts and a lot
yeah.
of charters.
I'm primarily trying to focus on largely on Asia and these entire emerging economies as one block. Asia, Latin America is a global audience we are addressing to. So Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And I say that, when you talk about Asia, obviously we have about 400, some 380 to 450, I found out. The number could vary. Number of commercial airlines, which include the scheduled and non-scheduled operators. I'm sure that all these low-cost carriers would be a large chunk of these 450. Because scheduled operators are something about 300 from this. But if you look at the Latin America, which is only about 150 plus airlines, 152 airlines as scheduled capacity. Africa, even they say that about 419 airlines, this is what my data tells me. But I expect that most of them would be LCC, low-cost carriers. And I don't know whether how they would be financially sustaining this. So my question to you, Captain Sudarshan Pandey, that how we must steer through this, because even the big airlines have issues like this is the unprecedented and probably the largest disruption of its own kind what Indigo has with a cancellation of 1,200 plus flights. And I'm sure that, when they really have to be regulated, I don't know how they are complying to the ICAO standards in terms of regulations. Where do you see the sustainability of these low-cost carriers? But that's also your growth engine. You cannot do away with them. We have to.
The low cost carriers are facing a lot of issues over here. It's not just the regulatory issues. The regulatory issues are there. A lot of regulations are there. First. Second, the cost of the ATF, the fuel is very high, the taxation is very high, so the margins are very less in that. And then overall charges for the entire operations also are there. So therefore, I mean, for them, they're really struggling to keep up with the, situation that is on the ground. Second, the other big problem that they're really facing is most of the better operators like regional, like Fly 91 and all, is the spare parts issue. So the MRO issues are a big problem where spare parts are not available for the aircraft. Sometimes the aircraft are grounded. So unlike a big LCC, a low-cost carrier like Indigo, I mean, they are really big. They are also a low-cost carrier. But these smaller ones are really, really struggling to be in the market. And unless the government really steps in and, provides all the support, what is required. Otherwise, there is a lot of scope for these low-cost carriers to really fill in the gaps, especially in the smaller airports and the regions that could be well connected by flight,
I would like to bring Group Captain Sarat Sharma into the discussions in the way these key adaptations are happening for these low-cost carriers in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Particularly point of view that we do have a lot of models. We somehow get persuaded by the Western models, which is from a very strict point to point, bypassing the most expensive hubs. Probably that way the navigation doesn't really work for a lot of these airlines located in Asia, Latin America, and Africa. So, Group Captain Sarat Sharma, please highlight on this and let us know that what is the best network strategy that can be in terms of adapting to this kind of a hybrid hub and spoke arrangement or whatever the best available models are. And also take us through, as Captain Sudarshan Pandey says, about the difficulties or challenges in terms of the MRO, the maintenance, repair, and the overall. Group Captain Sarat Sharma.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is good evening in India. So thanks for giving me this opportunity. As Captain Sudarshan Pandey has brought out, and you rightly so alluded, the emerging market, one of the prime examples that we have is obviously India, which is one of the fastest growing economies right now. But taking a complete block of emerging economies and superimposing civil aviation on such a kind of canvas, we find that the answers come with a lot of questions. And one of the questions that India is facing is, now look at this, 144, 145 billion, 31 billion are children, so minus that, but more than 100, billion people population, out of which 60% is working age population. No dearth of manpower, but a serious shortage, as Captain Pandey said, of skilled, trained manpower. We're talking about pilots, we're talking about cabin crew, we're talking about dispatch personnel, we're talking about air traffic controllers. So when we look at emerging markets, there is scope for increased operations, increased schedules. A lot of people are upwardly mobile. They would like to travel by air. But the workforce shortages or the human capacities is number one takeaway, that we need to focus on getting more and more trained manpower. And therefore, IFA or various institutions and academies need to up their capacities to train these people. Otherwise, you are mixing in that whole cauldron a dangerous portion. Remember, we are not going by road where we can stop. We are not going by water where you can be, sort of stable. You're flying in the third dimension. And that brings its own globalized challenges. There are modern aviation, let me be very clear on this, is one of the most safest way of travel. Over the last 100 years, if you say, commercial aviation has built upon, of course, we have had, unfortunately, a litany of accidents along the way, and some have been really horrendous, as late as this year itself. But based on those, there are global best practices, one of which was a prime example the last 3 days with Indigo Airlines, as Captain Pandey has brought out, that global best practices of FDTL, flight duty time limitations. There was enough time given to the operators to align themselves. Now, if the major player in LCC in India is vacillating or otherwise, not getting on the track for aligning itself with FDTL norms, which are globally based on scientific research, then we are sort of nipping it in the bud. So how do you keep growing as an economy with a truncated aviation spectacle? You have to match the aviation, which is the global, let's say, calling card of a country is aviation. So you are all interlinked. I would leave with one more point, if you allow me, is that, again, in India's context, the geopolitical tension or, airspace denial issues, now like we have legacy issues with ongoing for the last 4.5 months with 5 months with Pakistan. The point here is that when you deny airspace because of geopolitical instability or friction, you are actually imposing costs on low-cost carriers also. To go from Delhi or somewhere North India to the Gulf, you would have to do a kind of a very, very parabolic trajectory, trajectory over the ground in space, rather than cutting straight across Pakistan and Afghanistan. So those challenges are also to be factored in. And this is where the nation has to come and support the LCC models. I don't see any reasonable instability in in Asia, other parts of Asia or Africa or Latin America. But definitely here we have a live example, and I don't see any quick resolution on that part. So obviously, number one, the cost, the operational cost because of fuel and extended flight routings are going to impact. The other one is obviously because of these very risks, insurance premiums are going to skyrocket because of the very, very real possibility of hostile air action. Thankfully, things are still controlled to a high degree and nobody's trigger happy out here. But the point here is that other global players are also getting affected by such.
Short, he has frozen.
Yeah. Sure. No.
Yeah.
It's all right.
You
No,
can
I have
move
to
on,
back.
yeah.
Leverage. Sure. Thank you. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's quite insightful. It's just about still staying with this the key agenda that how the LCC must contribute to the growth of the civil aviations. But at the same time, you have to meet the regulatory requirements. You cannot allow a major disruption as it happened. It's a unprecedented and probably the largest disruption in the history of the aviation, the cancellation of 200 plus flights. So coming to the financials and scaling, where the biggest entrepreneurial hurdles, aviation entrepreneurial hurdles for a startup airline today, and what we do, role we do of looking at these alternative financing models. Banks simply do not exist in many countries in Latin America, Africa, and Asia. So far, to go fund a sector like civil aviations. So how do we look at this? I like to bring in an entrepreneur yeah, and an aviation enthusiast and also a pilot, Dr. Basha. So how do you look at it? The way the financing can be done, considering that even a narrow body jet can even cost you about 100 million US dollar. So traditional financing requires immense collateral, management, and robust cash flow projections, all of which are challenging for a startup in any of these regions. Now, since you also understand the Europe market, being in UK, at the same time, also look at an emerging economy like India or any other country. You travel and you have businesses in Africa. So, Dr. Basha, if you really can reflect on this, that what are the biggest entrepreneurial hurdles for a startup airline today in any of these regions? Yeah, Dr. Basha? I think. Yeah. I think
He's not on the call.
I think yeah. Then if that is so, I would like you to Roohi also can take this question because he herself is an entrepreneur, dividing time between Singapore and UK. Hope you are following these questions, or are you still held up in that Indigo flight in Singapore?
No. I'm very much following this question. I think
is that something behind you? Is that your doppelganger or something just behind you? Okay.
oh, maybe
that's a larger version of you. That's a larger version. Okay.
Maybe my mirror image might be there.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Okay. So I think on my side, when we talk about the entrepreneur experiences, there is definitely a need of financing and scaling. So financing is still a challenge. And what is interesting is aircraft financing market, which is very much popular with commercial aviation. But same time, it is not very much popular with emerging economies, startups. Or let's say, for example, you have to work around equity light models or operating leases models or sale and lease bags, or maybe for power by the hour concept. But that would only apply to companies who are in MRO or who are in engines, for example. So small example, me as an entrepreneur, I mean, like if today now, if I go into the market and ask for small funding, small financing, we won't be able to get that because there are challenges.
Yes.
And if we are talking about emerging economies, and that is where the next aviation boom is heading towards, then I think the first thing which really needs to be aligned is on the financing and scaling side. When you have easy finance options available, then the scaling becomes easy. A very good example would be, I'll quote UK here, not in aviation finance, but in some areas, UK have a system where you have small banking facilities, and those small banks are very much aligned to work with emerging startups, or for example, women-oriented startups. When we talk about aviation, how many women-oriented startups have you seen in the emerging economy? Maybe 0.1%. Because as women, they already face that challenge. Not that because I'm a woman and I'm coming from that angle. No, but I'm making a generic statement here. If I want to get out and do something now, I need finance. Who is giving me? So my options are either I arrange my own finance, or maybe I'll take a personal loan from UK bank because the rate of interest are less cheaper as compared to banks from Asia. So that would be my one pointer. Definitely, I think my second pointer would be where I see aviation is heading now. We really need to start integrating data-driven models. So when we talk data-driven models, which means we are already aligning AI into our normal day-to-day activities. Earlier, we were discussing around...
I'm sorry. Just because we're staying with the finance, because if you rightly mentioned that finance is becoming a challenge, not only here in the emerging economies, but in the Western world. So looking at the role of these alternative financing models, we have some of the primary alternative is that you take an operating lease. And what it means, because it instead of a very capital intensive ownership, which majority of the startup airline rely on operating leases, the shift can be towards the financial structure from a debt acquisition to a very kind of a expense management, where you are preserving the capital for the operating scaling and market presentation. And I'm sure that there are 100 other, ways of putting a private equity in place or venture capital in place. In a way, the funding is tied to some kind of a technology adoption, where you discussed rightly about AI automations or even having a digital booking platform. So this is rapid expansion and giving startup agility. I would like you to just, now since stay with this, because we have one of the very interesting, our friend,
Sarat, I can quickly
Captain.
add
Captain. Captain. Yes, please.
This is one more issue in what she said, Roohi, is very good. But, there's one bigger issue that also faces the startups here is the lenders really want to know the operational credibility of the operators, Are they credible enough to start the operations? So that's another big factor. So funds are available also over here, but the biggest problem is the operational credibility.
That's right. I just would like to bring in Captain Birendra Yadav into this conversation. He's a businessman. He's an aviator. He operates between countries, Australia, Spain, and India. What is Captain Birendra Yadav, if you really can touch upon this point, what are the alternative financing for the startup airlines? Because if the aviation has to grow in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, that's the only way, whether you private equity, venture capital, you can even look at a sale and leaseback arrangement, or some kind of an OEM financing and supplier credits. So whatever way, if you really can share some of your experience and your thoughts on this. Captain Birendra Yadav, please.
Yes. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Once again, we don't know whichever country we are presently. I'm Birendra Yadav and I'm really in the education. I came into the education in 1993 with one child teaching tuition. And basically, I'm from Bihar. And the journey from 1993 till now, what I see, God has given me 4 schools and 6,500 students and 350 teachers. And then in 2015, I completed my aviation course and PPL, also having CPL, commercial pilot. But again, I did FA license, Federal Aviation of America from Chicago. And what exactly I have seen in Chicago, when I was flying from the base. It was a private base that is called DuPace Airline, DuPace Airport. From there, what I saw, the people, those who are in aviation and those who are interested in aviation, they bought a big land all together. It didn't cost so much because there are more than 50 people. And they bought the land. They built their own airstrips and they have the aircrafts. I asked them, how did you do this all? So he said it's a very much possible to do that. It's not impossible. Only you should have the chain of the people, those who are interested into aviation. I was interested in aviation. And the easiest way to do, let's have some group of people, those who are interested in flying, interested in aviation, interested in doing the business in aircraft and aviation. Buy the land. Now the question comes where Dr. Sharad has asked me to explain about the meeting of the finance. Aeroplanes, always, all aeroplanes are hired on lease. It's not very big issues. If you have the link, if you have the credibility in the bank will lease the aircraft. It's not very hard to get the aeroplanes and the on lease. Only we have to have our all credit, how much we have, how much income tax we pay. But really, if we come empty-handed, it's quite not possible. Because the bank, even when they go for the finance, they will see your standard. Really, whether you are going to buy the aeroplane of minimum of 10 million, 20 millions, how much you are going to pay back every month? How will you have the projected balance sheet that what will be your earning and what was your past earning and what is your current earning and what is the projected earning? So in that base, government, the banks are very easily the financing. If we are interested, we can have the same as we had in the DuPage airport. Because really we understand parking is the greatest problem in India. You won't get place for parking. If you get, we have to pay huge amount for parking. So this is my suggestion. If you meet people, we can go back.
Thank you, Captain Birendra Yadav. Now, you just about to sum up because we don't really have much time. So I have a note and says that we have to sum up in next 8 minutes. So let's get into the closing remark. But something that we really failed to touch upon is the complexities of maintaining a global operations in a volatile regulatory and supply chain environment. What it means is that I would like each of you to reflect on in what ways does this reliance on a global MRO, which is maintenance, repair, and overhaul, and supply chain affect the operational costs and the regulatory compliance across different jurisdictions. At the same time, we all would like to know, is the current pace of regulatory harmonizations, the safety standards, the pilot licensing is fast enough to support the rapid expansion of these global flight networks? Because finally, Captain Sudarshan also raised this, that how does this globalized need for the flight crew impact the training standards and the labor markets? And particularly, there is going to be, after what has happened, the largest disruption of the flights in India of the Indigo airline. We know that the question will be asked that how does this globalized need for flight crew impact the training standards and the labor markets, particularly with the experienced aviators moving to better compensated regions. And I think this is a reality going to reflect almost in all these regions, Latin America, Africa, and Asia. So I'd like you to see if Mr. Martin is still around, if he really can come into this discussion. If he has difficulty in connecting us, then the question can go to Group Captain Sharad Sharma. I think we're not getting Martin. So Group Captain Sharad Sharma. How you think these complexities of maintaining a global operations in a very volatile regulatory environment almost everywhere, Latin America, Asia, and Africa? Captain Sharad Sharma?
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Have you got my questions? We're trying to sort of locate it to have a very larger perspective of Africa, Asia, and Latin America.
Okay.
Pilot mobility, regulatory harmonizations, and these, the global MRO. Finally, it's all about repair and overall.
So when you look at the MRO, obviously it impacts upon the what we call as aircraft on ground, the maintenance issue and the rotation for the flight line. Obviously, those things have to be linked with the entire global pattern. You'll have to create hubs, MRO hubs. The government of India is obviously trying one great one in the central part of India, and hopefully that will now create the kind of centralized, aspects of MRO. Having said that, my point here is I would like to highlight the issue of cybersecurity threats and vulnerabilities. We have had the recent case of GPS spoofing whilst in operations.
Right.
And my own people whom I have had the opportunity to talk, my own course mates in the Airforce who are flying for various airlines in India, Air India and Indigo.
So
they said we can. Yeah, so the GPS spoofs, cybersecurity is also an aspect which links all these various components of the aviation ecosystem, whether it's MRO, whether it's operations, whether it's air traffic control, whether it's simple passenger coming in to check-in counter, moving on to security using DigiYatra. So now you have facial recognition. What happens if there is a denial of service of facial recognition software? The point here is that as we go along globalization, the emerging markets hold the promise of greater growth. The aviation system in America, in North America especially, and Europe is highly saturated. It's very highly developed. China is obviously going on a great path, but it's already in the developed countries. So the emerging markets like India, we need to make sure that cybersecurity aspects are factored in every aspect of the ecosystem. That's all my take is.
Spoofing, in fact, this is one of these great subject of Captain Sudarshan. He speaks to me about this quite often. Would you like to come into the discussions in terms of reflecting on how this regulatory harmonization need to be done? Is the current pace of the regulatory harmonization is fast enough to support this rapid expansion of the global flight networks? Asia, Africa, and Latin America. We're talking about the whole block of emerging economies. Captain Sudarshan Pandey.
See, regulations is the most important part of the aviation industry. And when we talk about all these markets that you're discussing, especially the African markets, the regulations vary from each country drastically, and this is one big aspect of the operations of the, airlines or startups or anybody who's operating there, whether it's a non-scheduled operator and all that. So it is very much controlled and very much in guided format, to some extent in India, to some extent in Asia, Middle East, and other countries. But especially Latin America and Africa being the most complicated in terms of the regulations.
Thank you. Dr. Basha, would you like to come into these conversations of the regulatory harmonizations, which is obviously not fast enough to support this expansion of the global flight networks? Dr. Basha? I think he texted me he's facing some connectivity issue. Dr. Basha, okay. The question, let's take it to Roohi. Roohi, if you really can come into the discussion on the regulatory harmonization.
Well, I think, regulatory harmonization, if we talk, the safety standards are converging at the moment, but then even we still have uneven licensing, maintenance approvals, custom rules for MRO, for example, and there is a slow expansion, which definitely affect a lot of other operations for the aviation and other activities around aviation. What we can do is we can actually work around a constructive proposal where, for example, sorry, again, since I am more on the technology side, so I'll give you a simple constructive proposal, which is how about we create a regulatory sandbox to fast track new approvals. And when we create a sandbox, then all the Asian countries can put their regulatory standards there. They can actually compare which country are still lacking on the regulatory harmonization, and they can try and, work around to make the licensing, make the maintenance approvals more even. That would be my 2 pointers.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we are really getting close to the deadline because we have to finish this right now. But Captain Birendra Yadav, please, if you really can come into discussing about regulatory harmonizations and also the pilot mobility. Somehow we see that there's a massive shortage of pilot across continents. How do you avoid? Look at the void that is created in India with the pilot shortages. We thought that this market is saturated. We'll see. We don't have pilots now. So coming to this conversation to talk about regulatory harmonizations and pilot mobility, please. Captain Birendra Yadav.
Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Aviation is really challenging. It's not easily be met. So, in my opinion, if you ask me, it depends really on your credibility. And all the things what we suffer about the manpower, ground handling, and having our own airstrips. Beside the airstrips, you will have your small houses. You can park your aeroplane. You can go anywhere, come back and park. So it will not cost so much. And all the problems can be easily met when we are in group. Individually, we can't do anything, is my suggestion. Individually, even I have a lot of money, but putting the money in the West, parking in the government air park, not possible. So what we need is my suggestion. Let's meet few people. Let's take the decision, the vote from some people who are really interested in aviation and enter into the aviation. Not only interested, but enter into aviation. The challenging this, I want to enter into the aviation. And then every problem will be met. That's not so hard because you will not find the problem and the issues of the people who will take care of the aeroplane, who will keep maintain, because we will have people who will take care of everybody's. When we have our own airstrips with the combined source, the people will take care of the all people. So the best idea to minimize the cost and have the right persons, maintenance, pilots. We know many pilots, they are free. It's not the scarcity of the pilots. I know my 4 friends who flew together, they are not getting job. They are free. They are ready even today. Tomorrow, fortunately, I'm going to see in the airport here, Terminal 1, to see B200. And he is very much interested to sell to me. And we are going to have the discussion. Now, the again question comes, it's a very huge amount to park our aircraft. Very huge amount to take care, maintenance, to keep the aircraft ready to fly. But when we have the group of people together, a unity, we can build our own airstrip in some of these states nearby. Our aeroplanes can fly from there, park in your own area, make a small room, go in the room, park your vehicle there, bring your car, what DuPage Airport does. And I was very much means interested to join with them. And they get this opportunity, even anybody can join with us. If you have the money, many people are able to sell the aircraft and go for buying the land and participate there. So this is my suggestion to each one of us.
We are actually, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Captain Birendra Yadav. We are overshooting the time. I have really my eye on the clock. There are a lot of other areas we wanted to cover in terms of technology, sustainability, and the future of the flight. You know, how crucial emerging technologies, as Roohi said about the AI routing, your predictive maintenance also. That would be your digital cockpits. In achieving the profitability of the required for sustained growth in emerging markets in Latin America, Asia, and Europe, and Africa. Sorry. So, what practical step this government must now take, and the airlines must take together to scale up the production and distribution of something called a sustainable aviation fuel? And what is this cost implication for the consumers? That also we have to keep an eye. It's not about growth, but we are talking about sustainable growth. And what are the core challenges for governments in these emerging economies in building this 21st century airport infrastructure to match demand created by global and market entry? Some of these things that you already have mentioned. Let us must wind up. I'm sorry, I wish we really can go on and on. We are all so passionately talk about aviations, but I have to end this here, and we can take it to a lot of our own discussions. Any question? I'm sure that there's a lot of...
Sharad, I think Roohi raised a hand. You can take the last.
Yeah, Roohi, if you can come in.
And
Yes,
that's it.
please, Roohi, yes.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to make one comment, rather a suggestion actually, around the last point where we are talking about the pilot mobility. You know, one simple solution is there are a lot of uneven salary scales when we talk about pilots, maintenance engineers, or any aviation personnel. So when they are in need of money, they join emerging economies, companies, airlines. The moment they gain little experience, they easily go away with the high-paying companies. So if we can, balance out this gap between high salaries and low salaries, then we can actually kind of work around talent management pool for pilots, for engineers, for maintenance personals.
That's a very, 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 very valid point. Thank you, Roohi, for touching upon that point. With that, is there any question from the audience so that we can quickly, we already have overshot 10 minutes, so we have to end here. If there's any question from the floor?
Not, we can't see anything. I think if there is any question, we can pass to you or anyone.
So I take this as an opportunity it's a privilege to chair the session, and with all the very eminent aviators, Mr. Martin Jurik, the CEO, Managing Director of the Czech Sports Aircraft. Thank you so much. I'm sure that probably some connectivity issue, but I see you, they're still there. Captain Sudarshan Pandey, thank you very much. I have dearest friend, Group Captain Sarat Sharma. Thank you very much, Group Captain. I think probably Captain Khorana could not join us today, and Dr. Basha, because he has connectivity issue, but he has been sending me messages on the WhatsApp, and he's very intently listening to this conversation. At least we can still hear your voice, Dr. Basha, I guess.
Yeah, indeed.
Indeed, thank you. And Captain Birendra Yadav, so passionately he spoke about all. And I'm sure that if you are looking for hangar to park your aircraft, your reference is my friend Captain Sudarshan Pandey. So you really can close your private deal. So he would have a lot of hangars for you. And then I have dearest Roohi Bali from Singapore. I think she already has her feet on the Singapore soil. So thank you so much to bring in that technology perspective, Roohi, primarily by the virtue of also running an AI company. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let us go ahead, and I pass on the baton to Dr. Datta. If you really can take over. And thank you so much for allowing us. And I'm so sorry that we almost overshot 10 or 12 minutes.
No, you're okay. I think we have started 3 minutes late, so it's fine. Professor Sarat Das, wonderful, such a wonderful special panel discussion. I think thoughtful and balanced leadership, added tremendous value to the panel. My humble and sincere gratitude to all the panelists, distinguished panelists, for the thoughts and sharing. This is something very unknown to me.
My sincere apology. I forgot to introduce one more observant of the sessions, Mr. Jitendra Barma. Are you still there? The former news editor of online edition of Times of India, who also touches upon aviation. Are you there, Mr. Jitendra Barma? No, he came. He just logged in and left. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's wonderful. You have done a great job, that bringing all these thought leaders. I think, as I said, this is very unknown to me. And now, that my understanding is very much enriched. What they said is quite interesting panel discussion. I think there should be a right bridge, a bridges between academia and industry. And this was the right special panel session. So wonderful moderation, wonderful insight from all the panelists. On behalf of Center for Business and Economic Research, our sincere gratitude to all of you. Thank you so much. It is really an enriching experience what we have witnessed today. Thank you, Sarat Das, again for sharing and moderating this session such a wonderful way. And I was just perplexing myself whether we'll be able to finish within 2 hours even. I think that you have realized and you have done it so nicely and structured and the most, the compact way. So that was quite well, that managed the panel session. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you so much.